Hey everyone, welcome back for the next video. So I promise I'm going to be recording in bulk and the topics on here are going to way widen. So this video that I'm recording right now is going to be a little bit more of a personal video. And I guess anyone that is in this situation might just, find some amount of comfort from what I have to share. So I'd mentioned in my previous video where I talked about being an expat in Albania that I've had like the most random 6 months of my life that really didn't go how anyone could have predicted they would go. And it's been absolutely not easy. So today I want to talk about my processing, I guess, around dealing with grief. So I got the phone call that absolutely nobody ever wants to receive in the summer. We were just on our way down to the lake to go for a walk when my phone rings and my mum's calling, and that's something that doesn't usually happen. I normally call her, and I normally call her on the same day every week. So I know that if she's making a phone call, something is not right. It's been really weird because I had a couple of anxiety attacks, like out of the blue, for the day before, which has been really super weird. Like there wasn't any specific reason for me to feel that all over the place. I know that I just moved house, but it's been a couple of weeks. I'd settled in really well. So I didn't really see a reason why that was happening. I felt super uncomfortable. And yeah, so I was just on my way down to the lake. She calls and she basically just outright tells me that my dad had passed away. We knew that he'd not been well. He's been going through cancer treatment for some time, but we weren't really expecting anything to happen to him at that point. And at first, of course, I was just shocked. Like I didn't know what to do with that information. I just turned 30 and I had just legit not thought of that even being a possibility anytime in the near future. But I guess these are the things that nobody ever thinks about, or nobody likes to think about either, to be very honest. So yeah, obviously, I still went down to the lake. I fancied being outside. It was super hot that day. I'd been stuck indoors the whole day. And I had no idea what to expect. I literally couldn't make any decisions. I couldn't think about anything. I just had to let it all out and then kind of try and make an immediate plan. My dad had made the choice to take his own life. He had not mentioned that in the past, that he considered that as an option. Obviously, his quality of life hadn't been amazing at all due to the treatment that he was going through. And with the type of cancer that he had, there is apparently a hugely increased suicide risk. However, he refused access to a therapist, which was offered to him. Obviously, he didn't expect it to. He didn't expect that to affect him negatively, but obviously it has. So a lot of the thoughts that I had in my mind is my mind started imagining like how awful he must have been feeling and what a lonely place like you have to be in to feel like you cannot discuss your struggle with those closest to you. And the hardest thing was that obviously whenever somebody makes that choice for their own life is that you will never know why they made that decision in the first place. And then it's super easy for your mind to go on to guilt. What if I had been there? Could I have stopped him? I would have been at home with him, My mum had just finished her holiday and gone back to work. Then I started thinking about why did the hospital call him and give him possibly bad news over the telephone? And my mind just went into all sorts of places. So obviously I'd booked a flight and I went home pretty much the following day because we didn't know how quickly he would be released and we could, go ahead planning the funeral. So yeah, it was a very, very confusing few days. But then I didn't know what was going to hit me. So I did some research, of course, like any person does. I'm like, right, what can I expect? You know, what have other people been through? Is it going to be a case of like, I'm going to imagine that he's just going to come through the door, or what is it going to be like when I'm at home? Am I just going to expect him to sit there and then freak out because he's not, and then I realize he's never going to come back? And, you know, how is my mum going to process this? You know, I had all these things going around in my head, particularly because I permanently live abroad, so I am not at home. And the two of them have been there together. We don't have a family beyond us. So yeah, there was all these thoughts going around my head, and nothing that I've read has corresponded with my experience up to this point. Of course, that can still change. It's been not even 6 months, I guess. 5 months or so since it happened. Hang on a second. I still got a cold. I still got a cold in my throat, and stuff is trying to kill me. So people were describing like their different experiences of grief, and I haven't really had any of those. It's not that I've been numb to it. I've cried about it. I've not like shoved it into some place where it doesn't exist. But also my dad was at home with me when I was growing up, so I know him very, very, very well. And I started asking myself, right, like, let me put myself into like his position. He's unwell. He's not enjoying the things in life that he used to enjoy. He's unable to do so. From what we've, you know, gathered from hospital reports that he didn't really show to us, is that it was way worse than we thought it would be. So he would have probably passed away. That's the realistic, you know, situation. The treatment wasn't catching on. My mum is the only person at home. She may have had to stop working to go and care for him full time as he gets worse and worse. I would have come back home to watch him, you know, get unwell more and more and more. Or we would have had to pay someone that's going to take care of him that comes to the house, and I don't think he would have been comfortable with that at all. So I figured that the reason why he made that decision is to actually protect us. So now I have two choices. I could go back into the hole that I have literally just crawled out of because I haven't had a very good year, or I can just take it as it is. At the end of the day, when something has happened, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just accept that that is the new situation. That is how it is now. There is nothing you can do to go back into the past to change what's happened. That is what's happened now. Now, all you can do is focus on yourself and focus on the people that you do have around you to make sure that everyone is getting on with their life in like the most, I don't know, the best way for themselves. So my dad did probably not make this decision for me to completely lose my shit, excuse my French, stop everything that I'm doing, you know, upend my entire life. If he'd wanted that to happen, then he could have just, you know, not made this decision, and he could have just gotten on with it and wait for the disease to just take him over and us to upend all of our lives and go and take care of him. And I think he very much made that decision because he didn't want that to happen. He didn't want to suffer with this any longer. And the thing that helped me the most was just to respect his decision. Yes, it is not the decision that we would like him to take. Yes, we will never get the answers that we're looking for so badly. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can't change that. So for me, I spent a lot of time writing. I had a brief period of anger. I had a brief period of sadness. I had a brief period of confusion. But I would say that within about 6 to 8 weeks, I had just accepted the fact that that is the new normal. And I've not had moments where I've expected him to like just walk in the door, or where I was surprised to not see him in a certain place at a certain time. Like, my brain seems to have accepted that fairly quickly. And my concern mainly went for making sure that I keep control of my life, and that my mom manages to keep control of her life, and that we all have the support around us that we need. And I think that has been super, super, super important for me. So if you've recently lost someone close to you and you are actually not feeling an overwhelming amount of grief to the point where you're not functioning in day-to-day life, because that's basically what I read online. People were like, yeah, you have to immediately take time off work, and you might just find yourself bursting out into tears. And I've actually not had that. Like, I've joyfully remembered all the good times that we had, and those are the things that I'm focusing on. Like I said, he's been at home with me all my life. He's the person that has raised me while my mom was working to provide for us, right? So I've had the most experience like with him. We've had so much fun. We've laughed so much. I've probably been the biggest pain in the butt for him at times. But I want to remember all of those good and funny moments, and those are the things that I focus on. And I think the thing that was really important for me to understand was that whenever people have had a big impact on us, they are never gone. They live on within ourselves. And there's no point for us to put all of our lives on hold to basically sabotage our future because something like that has happened. We just have to respect that other people can make whatever choice they want to make. We can't influence that, If they're deciding to do something like this, then that was their choice. Yes, we can be angry about it. Yes, we can feel guilty about it. But at the end of the day, the choice lies with each individual person. And that is the thing that I respect. I respect his choice. Yes, I would have liked him to make a different choice. Yes, I would have liked him to not give up the fight just yet. But that isn't my choice. It isn't my life. It isn't my body. It isn't anything. Now I have to make a choice for how I choose to respond to it. And yes, where there is times where you're sad, there is times where you remember the good things and you're laughing about it. And there's other times where you might be angry, and that's okay. But I've just practiced to just let it come, let it out, and then let it go. And that's been super, super, super important for me. So if whatever you are reading online about grief, because you're affected by it right now, but it doesn't kind of line up with what you're experiencing, I guess I just wanted to give you a different perspective, because I have, like I said, not processed things in the way I was pre-warned that it would happen. And I almost felt bad. I was like, why am I not spending 24 hours a day crying? Why am I not triggered by these situations? And then I realized that everything changes over time. How do I know? Maybe in 5 years, in 10 years, it's suddenly going to hit me like randomly. But for now, like I said, radical acceptance helped. Like, I can't change the situation. It is what it is. Now I have to decide how I move forward with that. That's helped me. Just keeping my mind on the things that have to get done, keeping my mind on supporting myself and making sure that my self-care is as high as it can be, and surrounding myself with people that really care for me. That has helped an awful lot. And then also giving my support to other people that are affected by it. In particular, like my mom, because, they've been together for decades. So for her, it's the hardest change. So yeah, just a different look, and I guess a bit of an update of what's kind of happened in the past few months, and maybe a little bit of a different experience of grief to what I've read online for the majority of it. So those are kind of my thoughts that I had on this experience, I guess. I would love to know if there's anything that has helped you, whether it's journaling, meditating, writing letters to that person. If there are tips that you can share, drop them in the comments. I would really like to know. Also for future reference, I guess, because I don't think you're out of the woods for years on end, and it might still come around to hit me at some point. And of course, I just gotta say, if you've recently lost someone and you're not stomaching it well, please don't give yourself the bullshit of I don't need a therapist. These people are amazing people, and they're trained to help you to deal with stuff, and they're the best investment that you're ever going to make in yourself. If my dad had made that investment, actually it would have been free for him because of health insurance. So if he'd made that investment in himself, he might still be here today. So if you're feeling low about somebody else having taken their life or having passed away from cancer, whatever the heck it is, if you're feeling low about it and it's affecting you, do not let anyone make you feel bad about getting help for it. You know, that's why people qualify to help you through these tough times. So those are my kind of thoughts and, you know, different methods of processing, I guess, and how it's affected me. So share yours below if you feel like it. And then I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.